Hey, everybody, it's good to be back with you. I'm so excited about this morning, and because we've got Brad Thompson with us. And we all know Brad Thompson so well, but what you may not have known is that in 2019, he was the the Star Telegram's Fort Worthy Musician and Band of the Year. We all knew that all along.
Just that year.
No, since the beginning of time. So we've had Brad with us for a long, long time. Brad, you've been with us since 10 years or more, at least.
I've lost track, but I bet it's at least 10.
Yeah, at least that, probably longer, because even back in the early days when I was doing the band, you were like in the band or a guest artist. And,
I was here when the service was in the evenings.
Round table.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So yeah,
when
it's been
Jim
15
Connor,
years. Yeah.
It was Jim Connor and Linda McDermott. She's awesome.
And it's changed over time, and the band has changed over time. And so, anyway, officially, welcome.
Thank you.
To this morning. I'm so glad you agreed to join me in these conversations.
I'm not in the rain this time. I'm indoors.
You're indoors. That's right. So, that's right. We're going to bring that back up. So, one of the things that this whole series has been about is this idea of peace in the broken, which is a phrase that one of our favorite artists and friends, Elizabeth Wills, came up with in that song of hers, Peace in the Broken, Peace in the Fall. And if your heart is open, it's not empty at all. And we're thinking about what does it mean to live. We're in this kind of broken time that we're in with COVID reality, but also just the tensions, the divisiveness, the political arena that we're in. There's a lot of this sense of things just are out of whack. They're kind of out of balance. And in the midst of that, of course, 11:11 has always been about asking the questions, what's the best way to deal with where we are in our lives, and especially when things kind of crack us open or bring doubts. So we're going to talk about some of that, but this song that you just did, Time, this is one that you and Charles collaborated on. It also kind of speaks to that. What was that? You remember the last verse?
The last bit of the chorus, the time won't make you better or make you worse. Time will be whatever you rehearse.
So it really encourages us to reflect on who we are, and then how we rehearse who we are, because that really determines the way in which we're going to see the world around us. But it's as inviting to question that as it is saying live out the best of that, right? Mm-hmm. So what I've been doing with the folks that I've interviewed so far is ask them kind of how this all got started for you, kind of where your religious roots are, what your childhood religious story is. So what was yours like?
Oh boy, here we go.
Yeah, because I've already talked to you a little bit about this, but not everybody else listening in or watching us knows this, and it was exciting. I was to find this out about you.
And you found out some new things too.
I did. Yeah.
So I was born and raised Catholic, in a Catholic home here in Grand Prairie, Texas. And when I say Catholic, I mean church on Sunday, as well as a Catholic school from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. So lots of being a Catholic.
Yeah. What was that like, especially as a child, being a Catholic? I mean, we hear stereotypes of Catholic school, and we're not trying to disparage anybody's background or their religious roots, but were any of those stereotypes kind of present?
I mean, there were nuns and priests and that sort of thing, like teaching you, and there were lots of hymns, lots of uniforms and ties. I mean, it was a small school. It was all I knew. So I mean, it was what it was, and I grew up that way all the way through high school. So so you went to church on a regular basis, I'm gathering. I mean, my gosh.
And y'all had chapel, or what'd you call it in Catholic school?
Yeah, I forget if we called it chapel, but yeah, we would go several times a week. We all sang, and confession and confirmation, and all those.
Want to share a childhood confession with us? That would be fun.
I think they were kind of pat. Just confessions, just say the things, get out of there.
Yeah.
All the holy days with the incense and the Stations of the Cross and all that kind of stuff. It was.
How do you think that affected kind of? Do you have a sense of how that might have affected who you are now? That childhood root of who you were then. Do you think, is that still with you?
I'm certain it is. So You're constantly reliving the stories of the New Testament and Jesus, so you get really familiar with some of the stories. I'm not saying I know all that much, but you did become familiar with a lot of stuff like that. And so I think that was, and then when you get older and you kind of see the deeper meaning to some of these stories and the things that happen in the Bible, you kind of get another glimpse of stuff that you grew up with, like as far back as you can remember, the Noah's Ark story and all that kind of stuff. It was always there.
Yeah. So was there ever a time as a child that this came into question? Any of that as a child that you look at and you think, well, that doesn't make sense, or that's odd, or you wanted to kind of explore it even more at some point? Something that just sort of threw up something that didn't make sense to you. Was there ever any of that as a kid?
I think the big one that I can remember is being in college and finally for the first time going to a state school, not a private Catholic school anymore, and deciding I didn't want to go to church.
Just said it's been enough. I had a lot.
Yeah, which is and cue the bells.
Cue the bells. cue the conscience. Yes, guilty conscience here.
So I don't think I don't think it was that terrible of a decision, but I did think that after 12 years of really being in it, seriously, it maybe sort of a natural instinct is to want to break from something like that. And so I wasn't part of any church organization from early college until, later on as an adult. So
Yeah.
I did come back, but there's still like a decade there where I wouldn't say lost, but just sort of, sometimes you're just like,
Just look, I've had enough of that, and not like
Sounds terrible,
That
but-
I didn't mean it like that, but it was more like you weren't like running from it. It wasn't like a thing you sort of rebelled against.
Yeah.
But you went through confirmation and everything, right? So you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Where you choose like a biblical name to go by.
Okay. What was your biblical name? Can you
I
share
chose
that?
David. I thought David was, quite a central, pretty amazing character in the Old Testament. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
And no one else picked it, so.
What'd they do with that name? How'd that play into the whole life in the school and being Catholic as a kid? How did that play into it?
I just remember making our shawl. Do y'all still do that here? Like we sewed David into my shawl
Wow.
with little letters that I cut out, and then maybe another couple of symbols
Yeah.
that I thought reflected me or
Yeah.
my personality. So
Yeah.
I remember those days.
Yeah. Cue Leonard Cohen.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Cue Leonard Cohen's song.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things that you bring to our service is and to our experience is just not just your musical talent and skill and your passion for music, but you bring this sort of aliveness, this presentness, this almost a playful energy, right? That you bring to our moments. I'd almost call them iconic moments. On some of our most iconic moments have been with music, because we've done things like Crazy Train as an opening song for a worship service, or what was it? One of our members told me that they had come to visit us for the first time, and we were doing Comfortably Numb,
Oh my gosh.
right? And that would be where you'd think, well, visitors are like, okay, wrong place. And it was like, that was the deal. That was what sealed the deal. When you're going to play a song like that and then make a connection to that, I'm sticking around.
Pink Floyd or Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah, because it's like that's where they are. They're in this place. So for me, it's kind of this curiosity I have about you is, how does that tie in with your childhood musical influences? What were some of those musical influences in your life? Because you've been with music all your life, and it's been a part of who you are.
It's been with me.
It's been with you. Yeah.
I think like we were talking earlier, my first experiences of playing live in front of anybody was at church. That was my first opportunity to sing and play guitar, was early years in high school playing at the church that I grew up in. And we formed a youth band, and we played on Saturday evenings during that mass.
Yeah.
And it was led by some beautiful, energetic, and exciting, young adult leaders. And they gave me and the other teenagers in the band a lot of autonomy, a lot of control, a lot of say in what we were doing, as long as we understood the responsibility of what we chose to sing and how we chose to do it. So,
Yeah, and you shared an incident with me earlier.
Yeah.
What was the song you chose?
So me
was,
and a couple of the other guys thought, wouldn't it be clever to sing "Stairway to Heaven" in church?
In church.
These are the minds of 14-year-olds.
Mind you, we haven't done it in 11:11 yet, right?
No, we hadn't done it yet.
We're setting it up here, okay. But what happened?
And, I think that we had good intentions. Of course, we also were trying to push boundaries as teenagers do. And I remember that couple giving us the go-ahead to do it as long as we explained to the congregation first where we were coming from. Give the congregation a chance to pick up and understand what you're meaning to do with this song. Don't just broadside people with something wild and crazy. If you give them a chance to understand what you mean, then I think you've got a chance to actually let some music convey something through you. And so we prefaced the song, and you made clear that we felt strongly about this. It wasn't a joke, and we wanted to sing the song in its entirety, and we performed it. And not everybody was happy with it.
Really? Surprise?
But it was. I think it was a great lesson. The experimenting in church, the breadth, the amount of music that is available for you in church to reach people.
Yeah.
Beyond a hymnal, which obviously there's many hymns we love to sing and play for different occasions. But
and what I found striking about it was that revealing to me was this connection's almost full circle. Is that's almost an MO for us in 11:11, is to introduce these songs that sometimes hit you from they come at you from a different direction. They bring the theme at you from a different direction, and introduce this idea that spirit, that God, the ground of our being, is present in all of these lyrics. All of these lyrics often speak to human condition, human angst. Searching, longing.
Sure.
And so they open up and invite us this deeper reflection. And no, you were already doing this, what, you're 15?
Oh man, I was like 13 and 14. I was like a freshman.
And you're already doing this. Yeah. And given permission to kind of explore that, so that years and years later you come back in 11:11, it's kind of like our whole modus operandi. It's what we do.
And when you and I were speaking before this, it hadn't fully occurred to me how at 13, I was getting ready for something that we're doing now in my 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
It hadn't fully occurred to me how I'm almost at home with that because it's something I had done decades before.
Right. I mean, you're the priest. I guess he was a priest that was leading the mass.
There was a priest, yes, but then also the youth leaders were
okay. So were lay people, but they were giving you permission already to sort of explore that journey.
Thoughtful, cautionary permission to go forward.
There's no fear of the secular. They were saying like you're going to find God in the midst of the secular.
Yeah,
you're going to find that connection. I was saying earlier that that song you did a couple of weeks ago, "Modern Love." And many of you all will remember this. If you haven't seen it yet, you all need to go online and find this video of Brad's doing "Modern Love" because it's just so much fun. It was a rainy day. It was like the first rain that we'd had in the area in like a month or two.
Yeah.
And so you're out there dancing in the rain and singing this song, and it's so much fun to watch. And then what's even more fun to watch, of course, is the making of "Modern Love" with Brad Thompson.
It's even more fascinating.
That's even more interesting. But, I talked about these iconic kind of moments because these are sort of moments in music that sort of stand out with us in 11:11. And we've had iconic moments in the worship experience, where we've done some pretty crazy, interesting things. But for you, what's the thread? Thinking back about your childhood and now, can you see a thread that sort of connects all of that? A thread of your own life? Is it a passion? Is it creativity? Is it this willingness to see the bright side of things, just always looking for the positive side of things? Is there a thread that you've found over the years that kind of ties all this together for you?
Maybe so, and I think hope is it. And definitely you find hope Sunday mornings in the service with our bandmates and our congregation, and whatever you and Charm might be sharing with us. I mean, I think it's got to be hope in spite of bad weather, in spite of troubles, in spite of pandemic, in spite of quarantine, in spite of tension, in spite of any number of awful things going on out there. You can still grab a camera and an umbrella and get your sons to film you in the rain like a goofball.
So
And we get something to laugh about, and now we got to wash our clothes and let your shoes dry out. So it was something to do that was positive. I think.
So one of the things that I was sharing with you earlier was these 2 David Bowie quotes that I said at the very beginning that our title is. I wanted to title this, given you as my guest today. I wanted to title this, and now it's a party, and there's that because of that scene, largely because of that scene of you dancing out in the rain, and that the contrast with the lyrics of that song, Modern Love, you dancing in the rain, it really parallels the contrast that he brought to that song, right? Because he brings this lively pop tune to this existential dilemma of, we long for a relationship with something greater than ourselves, with divine, with God, but there's no religion. There, God and
Never
man,
gonna
no religion.
fall for modern love.
Never going to fall for modern love because
Yeah.
love doesn't really work, that kind of thing. But you keep going trying to get to church on time. I mean, so you have these existential dilemmas, and yet he's got this pop tune. And then it was so perfect for you to be out there dancing in the rain with the same thing going on. These contrasts, this almost not a contradiction. For him, it wasn't a contradiction. So I want to read these quotes and see what you think about this. But I saw these quotes in one of his books on creativity or an article, and he says, "I find freedom only in the realms of eccentricity."
That's true for sure, man.
Like
With him.
how do you relate to that, or do you relate to that at all? This idea of it's only in that eccentricity, it's only in that extreme that you start to find the freedom.
I could see that. I mean, I knew we're close to him though. That guy was
Yeah.
way more.
I don't know. It's pretty crazy. You dancing in the rain. That was pretty crazy. And we're in a time of COVID, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're in a time of COVID. We're in a time of when things are down. And you've been, how's it been for you, right, in this time as an artist?
It's been trying, just like everyone else's, for sure. Like your time is whacked out, and your discipline's kind of shot, and it's hard to stay well and active and and positive and all those sort of things. So I think it really challenges the depth of you. What do you have? What do you have to get through something like this?
Yeah.
So.
And because you're one of the remarkable things that I think about you is that you've been able to make this a career, a full-time local musician, making a career out of it. That's such an unheard thing of. You just don't hear people being able to
Thank
do
you.
that.
Yeah, it's silly talk.
It's most of us jumped that ship long before it went out to sea, and yet there you are, and now you're navigating this. Carry the metaphor. You're navigating in the storm, and I'm guessing it's been challenging.
And I have support of my family and my wife for sure. That helps a lot. I couldn't do this alone. There's no way. And with the church has afforded me a way to, for a lot of this whole COVID time, the church was the only income that I had, and it allowed me to still be creative during the times when I felt least creative, or like that I had anything to give at all.
Yeah.
So I was really, and still am really thankful for that. Every week I've had an outlet to do something musical.
Yeah.
To still have camaraderie with the band, even though I don't see any of them. I get to collaborate with most of them every week.
Do you think they've found some excitement in all of this?
I hope so.
I mean, you've found this new avenue of creativity in videography, in creating these music videos that were never part of who you were as a musician. I mean, they were limited. You'd do some music videos, but not in this kind of context.
Not to this extent.
Not to this extent, yeah.
And every week I get to check in with most of the band. And, a lot of times we call each other when there's something we've got to sort through that wasn't just right or whatever. So
yeah.
that's been a pretty great way to just stay in touch with the band, which is kind of my job. I couldn't imagine spending 7 months and not playing music with them.
Yeah.
And even folks that we haven't involved, like Jim Miller, I called him the other day and we got to visit for a little bit.
Yeah.
It was great.
Good.
It was great to see
Yeah.
and talk to him.
No, this from the very beginning, just as a quick side comment, from the very beginning with your involvement, the work with the band has been about a community. It's always been about sort of the spiritual community that they rely on each other for. And I think you see it in the Facebook comments and stuff when they talk about these videos that they've created together as well and celebrate that. I was going to read this text from Gospel of John, which is one of my favorite Gospels because it really speaks of more of the mystical sort of side of who Jesus was. This is 2nd century writing, right? So it's not part of the early Gospels that were written in the 1st century. And here at the 2nd chapter of John, you all know this story, the wedding at Cana. On the 3rd day, there was a wedding in Cana of Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there. Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. I just love this idea of the scene. They're all invited to a wedding. And when the wine gave out, the mother of Jesus' mother, came and said, they got no more wine. And so Jesus said to her, what concern is this of mine? Why is this of a concern to you or to me? My hour has not yet come. And his mother says to the servants, do whatever he tells you. I guess she figures something's about to happen. And standing nearby are 6 jars of water for Jewish rites of purification. Again, remember, this is a mystical gospel, so all these things have kind of symbols to them, have associative kind of symbols to them. So there's these large jars of water for purification holding 20 or 30 gallons. We're not talking about a little bit of water.
Whoa.
And then Jesus said to them, fill the jars with water. They fill them to the brim, and then he says to them, now draw some of it out, take it to the chief steward. And when the steward tasted the water, what he tasted had become wine. And then as the story continues, everybody gets the wine, and then the people in the party are saying, this is so odd. And the steward even says this, because the good stuff is always served at the front. Right, the party you get the party started with the good stuff, and then toward the end they can't taste the difference. They're all drunk, right? So, I mean, it says that here in the story, they're all drunk, and yet here you've saved the good wine. So you got to think this wine's pretty good if you can distinguish just how good it is, but you're kind of drunk at this point
after having a few
glasses. What is the story all about? And I don't really know to just say I really pretend to know exactly what this story is about, but there's something about this idea that now it's a party, right? It's the idea that now it's a party. The good stuff is yet to happen.
Yeah.
It just resonated with me with this idea that David Bowie had said, I find freedom when I'm willing to go to the extremes, when I'm willing to become a little more eccentric, take the leap, if you will. And that's kind of what I see in you that you've done with this time that you're in. You've taken the leap. I remember when I was doing camp work and I invited you to come join and start doing camp singing. And you shared with me
that's extreme.
That was a whole new reality for you. Mm-hmm. But you take these leaps. So I'm just praising you now. I just say you remind me of that kind of person who just leaps out there, right? In spite of where we are right now, you kind of leap out there and try to see the best and be the best.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
There's plenty of times I don't leap, and I wish I would have. So it's good that I do leap on occasion, at least.
Well, so we close with, I want this last question that I've asked everybody is, how are you staying grounded then in this time? This is kind of a broken time that we're in. How do you stay grounded to kind of live into this unknowing?
I dive into work, which can be good for some bit of time, more of a distraction, I guess. And then connection with people is really, really it. Just getting up here and seeing you and Charm and any connection at all with my family or with friends or anything, that really is what's keeping us buoyed and going through this, you know. And I got to say that's got to be a lot of it.
And you're not finding any challenge for you. How do you stay creative?
And then I'm being creative in different ways. You know, going and discovering how to shoot video with a little, you know, gimbal thing that you buy at Best Buy, and you turn it on and it goes all crazy at you, and then we spend an hour messing with it, and then
Yeah.
then look, we've got a floaty camera thing we can use, and it's waterproof. Let's go.
Yeah. Everybody needs to go back and watch the making of video that you did to see some of that chaos.
I want to use it some more. It'll be fun.
So, listen, I appreciate you being with us this morning and sharing some time with us and these thinking, sharing your thoughts with where we are with all of this. We look forward to the next thing that you're going to do for us. Kind of take us out with this last song that you're going to do called
Roll Steady.
Yeah.
Song I wrote for this record that I'm releasing right now.
Has a new record out.
And Roll Steady, I wrote at the end of last year, and I was shooting for like a Michael Franti kind of a song. It has a steady beat and a positive message, and simple structure. I think there's a lot of magic there, and that's what he does so well. Mine comes off like a country praise song, though. It's
yeah, but give us the chorus because, and you're going to take us out with this because it's great. It really speaks to this whole theme that we've been dealing with, that we're talking about.
Oh, yeah. And so the chorus, hey, we're alive, roll steady like we do, into the night, seeing all things as new.
Thank you very much. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for asking me.
Brad Thompson.